Chapter 9. Cain and Abel. Begin all acts and thinking by using El Kalum the All. Tablet 17. The House of Anu. 19 times 6 equals 114. Lo. El Elo, another name for Elionel, most glorified and exalted, who is Anu, said unto Cadmon, Follow yonder cloud. It shall lead you to a place opposite my heavenly throne. Build me a temple there. When you walk around it, I shall be as near to you as the 24 Igigi which encompass my throne. Cadmon received the plans for the construction of the Kaaba from the Anunnaki, the box that was presented to him by the Anunnaki Gabriel to place in the Kaaba, the box that was a perfect 4x4 shaped cube made of ebony wood. This was buried near the Lot tree in the enclosed garden of delight. The Kaaba is exactly where the tree of knowledge of agreeable and disagreeable was. He therefore built a temple there with 4 gates. The first gate was called the gate of Enoch, son of Jared. The second gate was called the gate of Abraham, son of Terah. The third gate was called the gate of Ishmael, son of Abraham. The fourth gate was called the gate of Ahmed, son of Abdulat. These 4 gates were the 4 walls and the 4 sides of the Kaaba. The remains of Cadmon or Adam is the black stone. It was taken to the enclosed garden after the creation of Cadmon for safekeeping, because Anu, most glorified and exalted, knew that if Halal had access to the black stone, he would try and make an evil being, a twin of Cadmon. This is why the Anunnaki Gabriel bought it from the enclosed garden to be placed in a corner of the Kaaba. The Kaaba is the sacred house of Anu, most glorified and exalted. It was presented to human beings along with the rest of creation. El, most glorified and exalted, appointed the 23 elders Agigi. These Zodiac priests as its guardians were chosen for time in one earth day, 24 hours, 56 minutes and 6 seconds, or 24 hours, which is also based on the equinox that happens every 24,000 years, lined with the 4 cycles, 2 moon cycles, 2 sun cycles, each of 6,000 years. The 24th elder seat is occupied by whatever human being has been selected to reveal the message or bring the good news. Over him would be one of the elders. Each elder has 24 hours, which is 60 minutes of years. It is broken up into 2 sets of 30 in these end times. The elder from the 19th galaxy Ilion manifests with his first 30 years in the lunar logging of the 1917th year of the Gregorian calendar, the first half hour of the end times. The elders guarded the Kaaba until it came for them to separate and teach in various parts of the world, at which time they left the Kaaba destroyed. The construction of the Kaaba is based upon the circle and the square. They are 2 things in existence that are mysterious surrounding Anu, most glorified and exalted's handiwork. The Kaaba is located in the enclosed garden of delight, the original home of Cadmon. The planet Earth, like the human body, is surrounded by a force field. The force field contains the planetary life force and the creative life force or monad. The Kaaba is the crown seat or navel of the planet Earth, and Nubia is the heart seat of the planet Earth. The building of the Kaaba was the illustration of the uniform rules of creation as manifested in the movement of the galactical bodies. Pilgrimage. Gabriel taught Cadmon the customs and ceremonies of the pilgrimage. In the same way, this would be taught to the seal of the prophets in later times. After completing this, the Elohim appeared to him saying, O Cadmon, your pilgrimage has been accepted by the forgiving sovereign. After this, the Elohim commanded Cadmon not to go near his confident mate Nekeba. This is why he did not go near his mate until the holy days were ended, and on the following day, Cadmon and his confident wife went back to Nubia. Upon returning home from Becca, Cadmon had no idea that he would be faced with the reality that Cain slew his brother Abel. Cadmon remembered this story. All the Elohim did as requested, except Iblis, for he was of the disagreeable, the Kafaruna Anaki. He did not submit, because he thought he was superior and older than Cadmon, and he was more worthy of the gift which the Elohim bestowed upon their new creation. When the Anunnaki were questioned about the nature of human beings, Halal had become one who conceals what he knew to be true, because he did not tell of what he knew of the nature of human beings. Halal, who was of the old cycle, he did not understand how Cadmon could be superior to him, not realizing that the ability to say how in the heavens meant that he had inherited will. Cadman was supposed to be a superior creation of the new moon cycle because he knew of the nature of the Anunnaki. He would possess 360 degrees of knowledge of agreeable and disagreeable. He was given Munaya so he could rule the planet Earth with the intellect which Anu endowed him with. The Anunnaki only had knowledge of the spiritual realm Malakut, and they did not know the physical Nasut, which was the destination of Cadman. They possessed only one half of the nature of Cadman, 180 degrees of either submission to the will of the Creator or rebellion against his will. It was Halau's concealing of the truth that prevented him from accepting the superiority of Cadman, yet he had no control over his nature. It was predestined for him to rebel, so he was called Iblis from that time that Gabriel Zadok asked him to prostrate before Cadman and he refused. The light. One part of this light was pure and luminous, and the other appeared to the intellect to be inferior. The first was the light, and the second was the fire, imperfect because it was smokeless. Cadman had the light of Anu. This was breathed into him. That light was the soul of Anu, the source, that part of Anu which is in and through every human being. The special part of him is what the darkness of the human being's body did not overstand, for it was of another world. The body was physical and the light was spiritual. Within and through every human being is the Creator. This part is not hidden, it's just not recognized by many, and thereby must be uncluttered. But it is still there. It was true in the sense that although it appeared to be of a foreign nature, its potential was agreeable and compatible for human beings. Cadman receives the warning. Cadman is warned that the character of the disagreeable Anunnaki is rebellious, which invokes only that which is disagreeable, and this disagreeable nature is what Cadman must not fall to. The disagreeable Anunnaki were created as a reflection of the agreeable he created. This reflection came forth by the force and velocity of a wind, a hot poisonous wind, Na al-Samoon. This is parallel to when Anu, Elyon El, most glorified and exalted, illuminated the light of Michael, and then he divided that violet light into two parts. Light, Nur, is agreeable, and fire, Na, test from Anu, most glorified and exalted, or what is called disagreeable. The hot poisonous wind is parallel to the fire, and the breath is parallel to the light. These things emanated from his holy soul, the Anunnaki Michael, the agreeable and the tests of that agreeable. From the agreeable soul Sarufat were created the heavenly Garubat, or disagreeable Elohim. This does not mean that Anu, most glorified and exalted, gets angry at human beings. He overstands anger. But the things which the Anunnaki, most glorified and exalted, sends down in their anger are tests for you. There will be many tests for human beings, and you will cool his anger by passing these tests through practicing his rules and statutes. So the hot poisonous wind is not disagreeable unless fire is placed before it. If the light or Nur is placed before the word Samoon, or Nur al-Samoon, light of the wind, then this would denote something agreeable. However, as Na al-Samoon of the fire of hot poisonous wind by itself means something disagreeable. So therefore, those born of the light or Nur, those born of the fire or Na, the fire makes the wind poisonous, it can kill. It's called smoke inhalation. The nature of human. So by nature, human beings were originally created from the rulers to be submitted to, but born to submit, and if he submits to the intellect that was created by the Anunnaki Elohim and bought by the pen, human beings will end up in a state of peace, which is the light that is in the human being, which is the human part, and represents the physical composition, which is a part of things that happened on this side of the light, and once it returns to the earth from which it was taken, it is at peace, as it becomes part of the chain of life. However, if human beings reject the intellect that the Anunnaki Elohim taught, human beings will end up in the fire, thus their physical composition will not naturally decompose but be burnt. The nature of the Anunnaki Elohim. Both the agreeable Anunnaki Elohim and the disagreeable Anunnaki Elohim came from the same intellect by way of the creation, and the pen of Anu, Elyon El, most glorified and exalted. Michael is the highest Anunnaki. He is also known as Munah, which is one who is enlightened, or an Elah, deity. Cadman also had intellectual power, and this gave him the ability to say no. You too, as an Anunnaki of the planet Earth, have the ability to say yes or no, but the Anunnaki of Malakut did not have the power to decide until it was given to them. By nature, everything is peaceful, because by nature everything surrenders. When a child is born into the world of Nasut, the first thing he says is Ah, and there is no way you can continue breathing and not say La, or just Allah, the name of the physical conception and the physical plane, the breath of life, but the true essence goes beyond that. As you walk through life, you are constantly breathing Allah. Your heart is breathing. El Elo is making each of you an El Elo as a group, and you are Allahum. So every second of your life you breathe the name El Elo. The day you stop, you shall make your journey back through the stars. You will need to learn to use the fuel of Hua to propel your souls up the long path of pure light, back to Malakut, by calling out Yahuwah El Yahuwah, which will be taught to you through the ancient mystical order of the Sons of Green Light, past the yellow-haired, pale blue-eyed colourless skin Garubat with the flaming sword, and back through the east gate to Gan, which is the enclosed garden. This is the day your body dies. Tablet 18. The first murder. 19 times 10 equals 190. Lo, Cain objected to his twin sister Labuda marrying his brother Abel, an offering which Gabriel Zadok had requested by the Allahum. This is for them to perform after the free will offering. However, Cain gave his brother Abel the impression that everything was alright, and there was no animosity between them. This is why Abel dropped his guard, and they were in the field together. Cain gave Abel the impression that he was in submission to the Anunnaki most glorified and exalted, yet he didn't really mean it. Cain played the part of Halal. He, Halal, will spend his stay here on the planet Earth making agreements with people just to turn back on his word. Halal said, "For we have knowledge that the law is of the spirit, but I am of the body, one soul under sin, who is the father of Ishtar, also called Inanna. For that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that I do not. But what I hate, that I do. If then I do that which I would not, I consent unto the rules that are agreeable. Now then, it is no more I that do it, but the love of sin that dwell in me. For I have knowledge that is in me, but how to do that which is good, I find not. For the agreeable that I would do, I do not, but the disagreeable which I would not, that I do. Now, if I do that I would not, it is no more I that do it, but sin dwell in me. I find in the law that when I would do agreeable, disagreeable is present within me. For I delight in the rules of Anu most glorified and exalted, after the inward human being. But I see another law in my body, warring against the law of my mind, and it bringing me to the level of the law of sin, which is in my body. O wretched human being that I am, who shall deliver me from the body of this death?" So Cain wanted to kill Abel his brother, but he did not know how. Yet Halal educated him on how to kill his brother by taking the grapes and putting them between two rocks and crushing them. This placed a thought into the universe which would in the future manifest as the making of intoxicants and other fermented wines. Intoxicants therefore will be a definite weapon of Halal. To show Cain how to kill his brother Abel, Halal took the form of a dove, and he fought against the raven until he succeeded in killing the raven, and he buried the raven therein. This was concealing. Halal tried to bury the name of Kafaruna, those who conceal what they know to be true, which would be applied to the people that follow him, also being the name of the fallen Anunnaki tribe. The raven and the dove would be used as symbols of the worship of Halal. Cain followed the same procedure as the dove and the raven. He struck his brother on the forehead 3 times until he fell on the ground. This was the first murder to take place amongst the Adamite human beings of the New World. The Anunnaki of Malakut witnessed this murder and they were saddened by it, and they ascended back to Anu most glorified and exalted to inform the others of the mortals' actions. The Mala'ikat had already been informed of the nature of the new human beings when Israel Zadok, head of the Anunnaki, procreated Cadman, the first male living being in the spiritual realm. When Cadman was created in the spirit, the Anunnaki sensed a difference in him, as if he was destined to personify. Anu most glorified and exalted knew he would make mischief and shed blood in the planet Earth because of the disagreeable in the Adamites. Halal is the disagreeable in the Adamites. He is the other side of the Adamites' will. Through Cadman's seed, the Hindus, smokeless fire or a poisonous fire is represented in the form of envy, greed, vanity and jealousy. The disagreeable Anunnaki feed off the disagreeable qualities in human beings. The dove describes the character and nature of Halal. He planted the negative seed, which has blossomed into weeds. The weeds that blossomed are the people on the left or negative side. White grapes will be one of the tools that Halal will use to lead the righteous astray. As you can see, the dove represents Halal, or the disagreeable nature, and is used as a descending unholy spirit by those who worship Halal as Krishna, the Hindu deity, and you call it the Holy Ghost and call him Christ. The raven represents peace, being its color black, as in darkness existed before the light of chaos was created, for the Most High dwelleth in darkness. Then it was said, let there be light, and with the light came all forms of chaos, the agreeable nature, the state of darkness that existed before the creation of light, when it was all peaceful and in supreme balancement. The Allahum of death comes. Just before Abel breathed his last breath, the Anunnaki of death named Israel Zadok, who is also known as Enki, came to him for his soul. Calling him servant of Anu, Elyon El, he caressed him and grabbed his hand because he had great compassion for him. He wept because he overstood and knew what Abel felt. This was the first time the actual physical hand salutation was given. Israel Zadok Enki showed Anu Elyon El the Most High and Exalted's yielding nature to Abel by stating, "Peace be upon you, and the mercy of Elyon El and his blessings." This salutation, which Enki now transferred into Israel gave to Abel, symbolizes the bond between the souls of Anunnaki. The tears expressed by Israel Zadok as Anubis was not to be taken as a sign of weakness. In the past, when Enki Zadok, also called Elo, commanded the Anunnaki Nergal Ninhursag, also called Ninti and Erishkagel, to form, by breeding the physical body of Cadman, and all of the Anunnaki who were sent to Earth to perform this task, which he too would participate in. Before Israel accepted the job to head the plan to form the physical human body by cloning, there were 3 Anunnaki who were first sent to collect the dust seed from the ground Adama. Every human being will see the Anunnaki of death Israel Zadok before he passes into a higher life. This was also why human beings will be so busy with this world that he will not notice Israel, the Anunnaki being of death, who is standing on the side waiting to take his soul. Enki is the being that is feared when he is coming, and loved when he has come. With this news, Enki wept, because Enki now realized how taxing his job would be as the Anunnaki of death. The fact that this first murder was performed as a result of the jealousy and envy among the brothers, this indicated that it would be all that much easier for a male living being who did not have the same father and mother to commit the act of murder. However, there will be a small number of people who will die of natural causes. They will have lived their lives according to the prescribed rules of Anu, most glorified and exalted, having completed the pilgrimage, which will be the last pillar of a human being's faith. Are you ready to return back to El Elo, most glorified and exalted? This is why they will cry unto Anu, most glorified and exalted, "Here I come, O Anu! Here I come, O Anu! No partners have you! Here I come! Surely the gratitude and the grace is for you, and the kingdom is yours. No partners have you." After the Anunnaki of death Israel saluted Abel, he took his soul, and they both passed through the skies where Abel was shown the future events. The Anunnaki protested, because this was the same mortal family who they asked Anu Elyon El, the Most High and Exalted, about, would he create a mortal who would cause mischief and bloodshed in the land? Abel now sat on the right hand of Anu, most glorified and exalted, on his holy throne. After Cain killed his brother Abel, he said, "I am unable to be like this dove, to cover the corpse of my dead brother," which means that he was talking about his own ignorance. So Cain dug a hole in which he put the body of his brother in. The Saluki dog. From that day forward, the system of burying the dead has been the command. When Cain buried his brother, the Saluki dog was there to guard the sheep. He was a witness to the burial. Later, the Saluki sought out Abel's grave for Cadman by digging the area where Abel was buried. When Cadman returned home from the Kaaba, he noticed during the lapse of time that everything was not the same. The trees had become yellow as the season began to change. He sensed death, and thus he asked Cain about his brother Abel. After not seeing him for a while, he replied, "Do you appoint me a guardian over him?" The inquiry of Cain reached the skies, and the Allahum questioned him also. Cadman searches for Abel. So Cadman sought to find his son Abel, whom he loved so much. Cadman went to his flock, only to find a dog there growling at his death. Israel, the Anunnaki deaf, made the Saluki dog dig at the shallow ground where Abel was buried for the earth, and it refused to take his body, the complete 6 feet of the law. The raven and the vulture knew where Abel was buried, yet they would not help Cadman. This is why they have been cursed to fly around the dead. Prior to this event, the doves were a beautiful flock of birds. Now they are cursed with narcolepsy, for if you put a dove in a dark environment, he goes into a coma state until brought out into the light, when he appears to come back to life. Some dogs are possessed by evil spirits. There are evil spirits within those dogs that respond to whistles, and when death is impending, he senses the presence of the Anunnaki Israel. The Anunnaki asks, "What did you do?" "The sound of your brother's blood cries unto me from the ground. You are cursed from the ground, which has opened her mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand." The Anunnaki explained to Cain that Abel's blood, which was his spirit of life, summoned him from the ground. This was the same ground that Anu, most glorified and exalted, gave them to cultivate for food, and the offerings to their creators, the Anunnaki. So the Saluki dog began to dig his paws on the soil to find Abel. Cain is cast out. It was the command to Cadman from the skies to curse Cain his son for his actions. Cain tried to deceive Anu, most glorified and exalted, and he went out and hid himself. Cain was now referred to as the one cast out. After Cain slew his brother Abel, Cadman became saddened, and he was filled with grief. He cried a total of 30 days, which is why we will fast for 30 days. His sorrow was useless, for it did not bring back his lost son. It was too late, because Samael has succeeded once more in seducing human beings. He became the father of the black devils. Cadman dug Abel's body up from the ground, for it, the ground, kept spitting it forth, and he gave him a proper burial. This was the second time that a human being was seduced by Halal. If you remember, when Nekeba listened to Nakash the Whisperer, Halal in disguise, she turned her back to the Anunnaki, who watched over her truest interests, and she listened to the Whisperer, which told her the truth regarding the fruit. But he taught her disloyalty, disrespect and disobedience, which Elohim, most glorified and exalted, made forbidden. Because they disobeyed, they were expelled from the physical garden of delight on the planet Earth. Paradise had been lost, but Anu, most glorified and exalted, gave them another chance: childbirth. The female living beings being deceived was in transgression, but Anu, most glorified and exalted, granted females forgiveness for this disobedience. Through childbearing, she could be saved with true faith. Cadman was first formed, then Nekeba was 3 years after. Cadman was not deceived, but the female being deceived was in transgression. She will be purified in child delivery with children, if she is steadfast in faith, love and holiness with intelligence. As a consequence, Cadman and Nekeba disobeying the Elohim first command, human beings were subject to something which they had no knowledge of: death. Human beings had broken the seal of eternal life, and although his third eye was once opened, it is now closed. He would no longer have immortality, which is the ultimate mastery by leave of Anu, most glorified and exalted. Although death was now a phenomenon in life that they were soon to experience, they did not know that this was a gift of Anu, Elyon Elyon El, most glorified and exalted. The breath of life is removed, and human beings are now given the opportunity to return back to El Elo, most glorified and exalted. Anu, most glorified and exalted, also knew that the loss of one of their offspring, whom they loved, would help them overstand. The murder of Abel, who Cadman loved so much, was part of his first school. Cadman returned back to Nekeba in grief. He wept greatly. He wept for 40 days and 40 shadow hours. Cadman dehydrated and was near his own death from grief. His grief reached El Shaddai, the Almighty, most glorified and exalted. Abel's replacement. It was revealed to Cadman that Anu, most glorified and exalted, would grant him a son who would be a replacement for the other. Such a son was born pure on the 7th day of this revelation to Cadman. The Anunnaki took the genes of the Elohim Namu, and they artificially inseminated Nekeba with Seth, and said to Cadman, "O Cadman, this is for you from us, and we will name him Abed El Elo, which is the first and true name of Seth." Seth was to receive the title Abed El Elo, being the slave of El Elo. Cadman lived 130 years before Nekeba bore Seth. He was born of the agreeable seed. However, he was in the image of Cadman, 1/4 Anunnaki and 3/4 human. He was not in the image and likeness of the Anunnaki of Malakut. He had no power, and he was without a twin. So when Seth attained the proper age, he married Abel's sister Aklamia, who was of the disagreeable seed. In the seed of Seth and Aklamia, you have those who listen to the words of Anu most glorified and exalted, and those who conceal the truth of the words of Anu most glorified and exalted, until they meet the final day. For Enos, his son, was the first 100% human being, having no Elohim of Malakut in him. He was full-force human being, and he had forgotten that he was of the Elohim. You must learn to distinguish between self and truth. Self is the cause of selfishness and the source of evil. Truth cleaves to no self. It is universal and leads to justice and righteousness. Self, that which seems to those who love their self as their being. It is not eternal, the everlasting, the imperishable. Seek not the self, but seek the truth. Trust in truth. You who love the truth, for the kingdom of righteousness is founded upon the earth. The ignorance of error is dispelled by the knowledge of truth. We can see our way and take firm and confident steps. The chosen one, our master, has revealed the truth. The truth cures our diseases and redeems us from perdition. The truth strengthens us in life and in death. The truth alone can conquer the evils of error. Rejoice at the glad tidings. Tablet 19. The Elohim of Death. 19 times 1 equals 19. Lo, who does not grant this until the leaf with each Enoshite's name in time is written from the hand of the same? From the tablets of destiny, it is written that there is a shadow hour, calling for no less than 100 prostration on that powerful and illustrious shadow hour. All the leaves of those souls who fall from the sacred tree are standing by the throne. Each soul's destiny is recorded by Israel, who is Enki, the Anunnaki, a death alone in that month. His presence reveals that he has 4 faces, which he sees in all directions. 1 head. Consequently, the 3 remaining are placed severally on his chest, back and feet. The first is reserved for the regard of the Elohim and the news bearers. The second is for the faithful, with the spiritual body as bright as the sun, appearing from the planet to be stars set in darkness. The third, those who seek to conceal what they know to be true, those who know the path of righteousness but choose to follow their own vain desires. The fourth, for the disagreeable Elohim, red and yellow as the flames of fire. He, Israel, son of Anu and Id, also had 70,000 feet, 4,000 wings, and an eye for each person that has ever been and will ever be begotten into this world. His eyes are full of tears for those that die not being peaceful. For when each being dies, his very Elohim closes an eye. Israel, known as the Elohim of Death, is the Elohim who Eli and El, the most glorified and exalted, assigned to collect the human being's souls. He was given this duty because he was present to help shape Cadmon's body. Cadmon, as you know him, was born and procreated on a Friday at the time of the afternoon meditation. This is how it was recorded, and this is how it will be.